Sleep is good, he said, and books are better. George R.R. Martin. Couldn't relate more. Hey guys, what's up? So today, as you guys saw by the title, we will be doing the books I've read so far in 2023. I don't know if it's a lot or not. I don't know. I honestly, it was funny because the week before 2023, I had the week off. And so I was trying to save some of the books for 2023, but I just couldn't stop reading. I would read a new book like every day the week right before 2023. So then these are kind of the ones that followed after, and I definitely slowed down because I didn't have an entire day to myself like I did that week. But I feel like I read quite a lot. I don't know. It's March now, so let me see. I average like 4 to 5 books a month. I feel like that's normal. I want to read 50 books this year, so we'll see how that goes. It really depends on the month because sometimes I can read a book in a day, which today I'm probably planning on finishing the book I'm reading right now because I really want to read that one. But I really want to finish that one. But I really feel like I could just, like, it depends on the month. But anyway, if you guys like reading, if you guys like books, you want to talk all the juicy tea, then definitely hit the subscribe button and let's just get started. I feel like it's easier if I just grab, what is the word? Like a couple by a couple. So the first book I read in 2023 technically was the Tracy Wolff Crush. So I finished the entire series. I'll just grab them because I finished all the entire series she has out right now. I finished them all in a row because I could not stop reading them. I was honestly filmed a video a while back trying to start off this channel, and it was all about this series, and I wouldn't mind doing it again. It was hard because I didn't know what to say, like what was too much and what was not, whatever. So maybe I'll kind of revisit that and see, like maybe if you guys ask questions about the book and then I'll answer those or something like that. I don't know, we'll see. But I honestly think the first book is the best one, which is not, I had read that in 2022 technically. So this is the second one. It's The Crush. This one's good. I honestly think the first one is the best book. It does get better as a series. I always think the second books are the worst ones, not gonna lie. So this one was like subpar. But honestly, I read these series like day after day after day. Like it would be nights and I'd be up till like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and I just go to bed at 10 because I wanted to finish these books so bad. So I read Crush, and then what comes next? I think Covet comes next. Yeah. Which is a good one. Then next comes Court, which is also pretty good. I think my second favorite one is Charm. So, this is the 5th book in the series, but it takes place before in between the first and the second book, which is actually kind of cool twist. Not a lot of books do that because it's a little dangerous. But honestly, this was my second favorite book for sure. I loved it, absolutely. And then there's still one more. So these are some big hunky chunky books, guys, but I 10 out of 10 recommend reading them. If you're a series lover, if you like the Twilight series, if you like any of the series, Percy Jackson, anything like that, then you would love this because it's a good series, if you will. This one is very much like, the main character's a girl and then there's 2 boys, but like she is finding herself more so than finding her love, you know what I mean? So like there are love interests, but she's becoming who she wants to be, and it's honestly really cool. She's becoming, she's realizing how special she is and how important she is, and her guy, whatever, eventually I should say, starts to kind of lift her up and like support her, which is really, really cool. There's a lot of focus on it, which doesn't need to be there. I'm being honest in my opinion, but it's a good like little addition because like I don't have a boyfriend. So that's the dream, that's the goal. Like if I was living in a fantasy world, I would have a boyfriend. But she does have a boyfriend, I should say, but I'm just saying like to solely rely on him to protect her and like to be the muscle, like it's not like that. She's finding herself and finding her own muscle, as if you will. But it's really, really cool. It's a great journey. This is about, if you guys don't know at all, there are vampires and werewolves and dragons and wizards, and their description of it in the beginning was like Harry Potter meets Twilight, and I don't think that's the best description because it's like you're like, what? So it's like the Harry Potter in that they live at the school. So they have like a high school that all the kids live at. Like it's, you sleep there, you live there. But then there are dragons and wizards and vampires. So I guess that's how it meets like Twilight. The first book is actually very Twilight-esque. It's very much like this, like mysterious. She doesn't even know that they're mythological creatures when she goes to the school, and she doesn't even know like that she's one of them, like eventually. Like, so it's very mysterious, and you're very like, oh my gosh, like what's his deal? Like he, the first guy in the first one, he's just kind of like, get out of here, get out, you know, kind of like Twilight, like stay away from me, you know, and then he's like, because I love you so much, you know what I mean? So it has this fun, that intenseness that is Twilight, the first book. The rest of them are like very not like that at all. That's why I like the first book so much, but just saying. Anyway, I read all these bad boys and they're so good. I feel like out of reading the series, I'd give it like a solid 8 out of 10. There's one more book again, like that could really make or break this series for me. Not gonna lie. So we'll see. There's a lot of things you don't expect. So it's very like not predictable, honestly, in my opinion. People die. A lot of people die. And I was shook. I'm sitting here crying on pages because I did not expect it. So expect the unexpected with this one, for real, for real. But it's a good series. So there's that. Just gonna grab the second half over there. So these are all mostly like singular books. That is not series, but I don't know what it is. I don't know what these authors are drinking, but they're drinking something I want. I want it, because they have been doing like my favorite freaking, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. My favorite authors, they write so good. Well, this one became my favorite author, one of my favorite authors, but these books I've been reading recently, it's not that they're a series, but it's like the one main character is either best friends with the other characters or like a cousin or like something. So they mention them and I love that. I'm like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I fell in love with those characters, and then I'm falling in love with you, and now we're meeting. Like, it's so good. Those are my favorite. I honestly should do a video about all those kind of books because those are so good. But first things first, the fifth book I read this year was The Wedding Crasher by Mia Sosa. And I had never read anything by Mia Sosa ever. My friend actually bought this for me, and she gave it to me, and she had said that there's another book that is kind of related. Now, don't make the same, I'll just show you it, because I'll talk about it in a second, but I'll just show you it. It's The Worst Best Man. This was the most recent book I read, but this one, read this one first. The Worst Best Man comes first. This one comes second. So, it's a little bit more exciting because it's, yeah. This one, at the end of the thing, it says, like, read, where does it say? It says, don't miss Mia's next sassy, sexy rom-com, The Wedding Crasher, Dean's story coming in early 2021. So this one had said that, so read this one first. All I'm trying to say. Anyway, because then when you read this one, you're like, oh my gosh, when they mention the character from the other one. Whereas when I read them backwards, I was like, oh, duh, I'm an idiot, but it was okay. You know what I mean? Anyway, this book is so good. So, Mia Sosa, she's Spanish, I believe. I'm gonna assume here, but so both of her books that I've read have this Spanish culture. I think it's not. What is Portuguese? They speak Portuguese. That's not Spanish. What is that? Her name is Solange. I think they're from Peru. Are they Peruvian? I honestly don't know. I just don't know. So I'm talking out my butt right now. But they speak a very, like, it's very cultured, I should say. They have this culture to it that is beautiful and you love to read about. And they talk about, like, their family owns a store and they sell, like, specific foods from it. Like, it is so, so, so much fun. But so then, of course, you see, like, the very, like, the relationship builds between the two characters. But you also see this culture that is so unique and so beautiful. I really do love this book and I want to keep reading her books. She does have... it is more, I'd say 18 and older as well. There are some moments where you're like, okay, didn't need that to be in there, but, you know, it just depends on what you're looking for. What was I gonna say? Oh, it's so freaking hilarious. This book is so funny, and honestly, like, the main character, I have this reading journal, and it asks, like, who's your favorite characters? And I'm like, the main characters, they're so good, because they're hilarious, they're funny, and this book was so one of those ones you don't want to put down. You want to just know what happened, and, It's just funny. It's so freaking funny. It's funny. If you guys, the premise of it is, he's about to get married. She does something. They end up needing each other eventually, and he has to pretend to be her boyfriend, and the family's like loves it. Whatever, all these things. Whatever. It's super super funny, and then of course they start falling harder for each other. But it's so good. I think it was vice versa though. I think he needed to pretend, he needed her, and then she was like, oh, like, well, then I remember it was complicated. He needed her to be his fake girlfriend, because he lied and said that was his girlfriend, and then she actually ended up lying and saying to another event that she was bringing her boyfriend, but they ended up catching them and thinking that they were together, so then they had to stay pretending for longer, and then they fell in love. Okay, next book I read, Abby Jimenez, my number one author right now. I'm just obsessed. I love her books so freaking much. This is Life's Too Short. This was like, I was literally screaming. I'm like, there's nobody to tell. Who am I supposed to tell? This book done did it. So I read all of her books in the wrong order. And again, it's not, you don't need to read them in the same order. This book just mentions some of the other two characters from the other thing, and it's not a big deal, but it's like, so in the one book, the main character is like a singer, and then in the other book, the girl sells, whatever, like he sells something, whatever, she sells some items, whatever, and then like the girl's an artist, and like different books, so different books like lead to, like, they're still a big deal in this book, if that makes sense. So like he's a super famous singer and everyone loves his song. So in this book, the main character like loves his music. So that is so freaking so much fun. But he's the cousin, the main character, the boy in this one is a cousin to one of the guys in the other book. So that's why I was like, dang, I should have read them in the other order, but I read it, at least I read this one last, so that all of the characters were mentioned in this one together. They're like, oh, best friends, and I'm like, oh, this is great. They're not like best friends, but they hang out, and so I was like, oh, yes, yes, yes. I honestly, like, this book was a really unique one that I didn't see coming at all. So this one is the main girl, she ends up with a baby. Her sister has a baby. She ends up getting custody of the baby for a little bit. She also thinks she could die soon. So there's that. And she's trying to like prepare her family for her death. And then her neighbor is hearing the baby crying and is like, boy, shut that baby up. So he ends up going to help her. And then they end up becoming friends because they're kind of like, whoa, I didn't even see you there, and like, you're amazing, so let's be friends. So they end up being friends, they're hanging out, a bunch of different things kind of happen. It's actually really, really fun to read because it's so unique. It's like, who would think to write a story like this? I have no idea. Abby Jimenez, she's the only one. So, they're like, friend, whatever, he takes care of the baby sometimes. I'm like, there's a baby? This is amazing. I love babies. And then the dad has issues, the brother had, like, the sister's crazy, all these things. So many different things. And it's so much, like, at the end, there's so many solutions that it's, like, so satisfying to read because it's, like, so-and-so gets help, all these people get help, and you realize whatever. So at the end, the ending kind of bothered me a little bit because it's, like, there's, like, this, probably, like, this much left, and then the couple goes to separate ways, and you're like, why did you do that? And then apparently, like, magically 2 months go by and they're not together, and so obviously they don't read that just says like 2 months later, and you're like, bro, what the heck? And then there's a short scene of them reuniting, blah blah blah, spoiler alert, but it's like, okay, why did the last thing have to be so separate? Like, why couldn't you make the last few chapters them together and like make this happen a little earlier? I don't know, but it was honestly super, super good, super interesting. I love the characters in this one too. They're funny, but they're so sweet, and you just love the romance, honestly, between them, and it's really, really good. Amazing. I love her writing as well. She really makes those books that just pull you in, you know? Okay, next, sorry, I'm taking long, but the next one I read was The Hating Game by Sally Thorne, and I actually it took me a while to get myself to read this, because I was like, it's gonna be so cliche, and and honestly, it was not cliche at all. I was not expecting some of the twists, some of the things, some of the moments that I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so sweet. And, you know, at the ending, you're just like, oh my gosh, I love that book. It was really good. The movie does not do this book justice, honestly. The book is way better, first of all, but the movie, like, the characters just didn't do it right. When you read it, the guy is, like, he's like, I don't know, it's like, you want to meet this guy. You're like, oh my gosh, like, I love you, but I hate you, but I love you. You know what I mean? And, like, but in the movie, you're like, what the freak, dude? You're weird. Maybe it's just me, but this book is so good. I have the other, I'm planning on reading the 99% Mine, the other book she wrote, this month, but it's really, really good. Again, these are all, I mean, honestly, there's rarely any of these books anymore. When you get to young adult, they always have scenes that, like, you just don't want everybody reading. So again, this whole channel is going to end up being 18 and older. There are some books that I'll mention, which is going to be next, that I honestly say, like, 20 and older. I don't know, you got to be not a teenager, because it's really, really intense. But I don't want to keep making that disclaimer, because obviously I'm 23, so it's like, I can, you know, I read what I want, but like anyone younger, I'm like, be careful, you know, be careful what you're reading, be careful, skim through it. If it seems like you see, it took me 1 second to find one of the words in this, and I was like, okay, well, you know, so you're prepared. So just be prepared. But anyway, except for this series has like a couple, like, where they like mention it, but like not really. So it honestly is, this series is pretty, like, I'd say 16 and older. So that's fine, but like everything else, I don't know. Now this one, this is Katee Robert, Radiant Sin. I've read all the other 3 books, but last year, of course. So this was the first one that came out this year, because I'm caught up enough with this series. This is the Dark Olympus series, but I'm caught up enough with this series that I have to wait until the next book's released, which is so depressing, because I have to wait until, let me see, I think it's like March. No, not March. We're in March. I think it's like May. August. Oh my gosh, August till the next one comes out. But if you guys don't know what Olympus is, what the 13 or whatever, so it's basically like a twist of the Greek gods. So like Zeus, Poseidon, Hades, the whole 9. She kind of does a twist on that, makes it the Dark Olympus. But instead of like it being this mythological, they have like these powers and stuff, it's more so like they're human, and they have their own kind of society, if you will, kind of live in their own bubble, away from the world, but like they're still in the world, if that makes sense, but they're like human. So you know, they try to, it's basically, they try to climb the social ladder. They want to be one of the 30, whatever. But either way, the premise is that they're a 13 that kind of make all the decisions for everyone else, basically. And you can only be like a 13 if you're like set for certain roles in the 13. You have to be like a family member, or you have to be chosen, like different things like that. And so the 13 are the most powerful, most rich, the richest of the rich, you know what I mean? Like, so that's the high people, the higher ups, basically. So a bunch of the characters, most of the books are like, people are trying to get out of here, and then they end up falling in love with someone, and then they stay, or they like were, a couple of them, they were getting in arranged marriages that they did not want to be in, so they ran away, running into someone else, and then the other person, they end up falling in love with the person, like, so different scenarios, which are really, really cool. They end up falling in love with like who they want to, but it always starts off with something like they're trying to get away from something, you know? So it's really interesting. They're fun. This is definitely a 20 and older kind of series. Do not go into this expecting it to be roses and dandelions. It is very intense. It's not for everyone. Again, give it a skim through and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. All it takes is one scene to see. It's very descriptive. It gets down to the nitty-gritty of everything, but I just wanted to mention that. Anyway, Katee Robert is a great author, though, and I want to get a few other books from her series. From different series, but yes, that's all I'll say about that. Okay, then last but not least, what I mentioned earlier, The Worst Best Man from Mia Sosa. Again, read this one first, then read the other one. This book is so good too. It's honestly psycho. So the main character is actually going to get married in the beginning, like, so it goes like 6 years ago or something like that. She's going to get married, and then the guy freaking like decides, texts his best man and is like, tell her like, which is his brother, tell her like, I'm sorry, but I'm not coming. Like, what you said was right. Ba da da da. And everyone's like, what the heck? And the best man's like, I don't even know what I said to you that made you decide that you can't marry her. And then so he had to go tell the freaking bride that the brother wasn't coming. And so she's like, what the heck? So this is 6 years ago. Like 6 years later, she runs into both of them. They're doing a job and she really wants this job. So she has to work with one of the two of them. So she chooses the brother, blah, blah, blah. And they end up getting into each other and they're deciding like, you know, it's always the conflict of, well, you know, it's not gonna work out, and so whatever. I need to drink water, but either way, they always go through that like inner, well, we can do this once and then, you know, never have to think about it again. Like, yeah, right. Where have you been? Have you read any love stories? You know that doesn't work. Anyway, so she, and whatever. And then the brother, like the guy who was supposed to marry her ends up being like psycho for a second. And then, you know, whatever. It's super fun though. So freaking funny. You just laugh the whole time. It's a really good book. It's like, it's hard in my head because when I read them and I finish them, I'm like, yes, 10 out of 10. But then when I read something else, I'm like, wait, that one's an 8 out of 10. You're a 10 out of 10. You know what I mean? So this book is really, really good. I do think some of her, Mia Sosa in general, her writing isn't my favorite. I think it's a little bit like, plain Jane, I guess is the word, just very like bare minimum, very basic, I guess I should say. Like the word like is it Mia Sosa? I was thinking of an example, but that wasn't specifically her. But either way, it is very like it's good, but it's very like, you know, basic level. But anyway, what was the other thing I just wanted to read? I just wanted to say, oh, this is good. I like when books too, I forgot to mention this too, when they switch perspectives. So it'll be like Max, this is for this one, Max, and then is her name Lena in this? It is Lena. The book I just finished is also Lena. Oh, so many Lenas. But it goes back and forth between perspectives, and I absolutely love that. So anyway, guys, really, those are all the books that I read this month. This year so far, that's 9. Technically 10, but I didn't mention the 10th one because I'll be mentioning that in my March reading wrap-up probably, so I'm going to save that one. But anyway, that's it for this video. Bye.